we have on the next topic, we have NNPCL transfers ownership of all petrol stations to Tinubu's son, nephew rather, Tinubu's nephew. Barrister, when I read this, my God, I was enraged. Even though I wasn't surprised, I was enraged. I didn't expect. While I expected corruption, massive corruption, I didn't expect it to be this open, this glaring. I don't get it. What was the president actually thinking about when he approved such massive takeover to be given, handed to his nephew, a Tinubu, one of the Tinubus, for God's sake. Barrister, what's your take? Of course, just like you noted earlier in our first other topic, of course, they are intertwined. This is the issue when it comes to fuel subsidy. It has a lot to do with the fuel subsidy. So basically, we over 8 trillion, and this is just like you noted. It is not even the end of it. That's from January to July or June or whatever. So the rest of the year, what happens? So probably we'll be hitting about possibly 12, 13, 14 trillion naira at the end of the year. So who gets this money? That's the point. Where is this money going to? Barrister, can you help us with that?
Yes, I'm shocked. I would have thought that this should be one of the most shocking news to adorn Nigerian newspapers and the airwaves. But I'm shocked at the silence that has come, or rather, the silence that has attended this thing, this accusation. NNPC Retail Limited is an arm of the NNPC that imports fuel on behalf of the NNPC. They also operate all the NNPC filling stations throughout the country. It is that NNPC Retail Limited that has transferred all its retained assets to OVH Energy Marketing Limited, the operator of Oando. Oando belongs to Tinubu's nephew, Walid Tinubu. In other words, all the NNPC filling stations, all the importation of fuel that is done by the NNPC has now been transferred to Oando, to that OVH Energy Marketing Limited, the operator of Oando. So it's just like saying they have given all their assets to this company. Now, they had a petition in the Federal High Court. The NNPC, Retail Limited, and OVH, they had a petition in the Federal High Court to dissolve NNPC Retail Limited without winding it up. So this is what we call a merger, acquisition and merger. In other words, OVH Energy has acquired NNPC Retail Limited. With it, all the filling stations, the portfolio of importation of fuel into the country, and they are the sole importer, according to them, the sole importer of petroleum products into the country. Now, let's dig a little further into Oando. Back in 2014, when Oando came into the oil business upstream, they acquired ConocoPhillips Nigeria portfolio. Subsequently, they acquired 100% shareholding of Agip, that is the Italian energy company, for the sum of $783 million. That acquisition gave them about 4 or 5 OML, that is oil mining lease. They now have oil mining lease number 60, 61, 62, and 63. They have 40 oil and gas fields, of which 24 are currently producing. They have 40 identified prospective oil fields. They have 12 production stations. They have 1,490 kilometers of pipelines, three gas processing plants, and two power plants. So these are what Oando has come to represent. With this portfolio, it seems that they want to take over the entire oil business in Nigeria. That is what I'm looking at, and that's what is projecting. So I do not know why the country is silent. It is as if Tinubu is going to take over the entire oil industry in the country. This is where they are going to. Remember, in the U.S. in the from 1920 upward, the Rockefeller took over the whole oil industry in the U.S. It seems to me that this is what Tinubu is trying to do in Nigeria. And why people, I do not know. Maybe people will come up with, but by now, people should be up in protest. I'm yet to see it. This is the first time where I'm even look. We are even discussing the issue. I have not seen it on any major television, any network, or anything. People coming up to talk about this. And this is a sitting president acquiring national assets for himself. Now, cast your mind back and look at the Lagos Calabar Highway involving 15 trillion that was given to his own partner company. So you begin to ask yourself, what does this man want? What really does he want? He wants to acquire the whole Nigeria or what? If people don't start to talk now, I'm telling you, this man will acquire every major business in Nigeria.
Honestly, I don't know why we are this docile as citizens. Um, I don't get it. Just like you mentioned, this is supposed to be a scandal. Um, but the people that are supposed to actually pilot this scandal are not saying anything. What do you expect? The mainstream media have always known that mainstream media are usually they are usually always, not just usually, always um in the pay on the pay list of corrupt politicians. If you are not hearing it, if we are not hearing it on the mainstream media, it obviously means that they have gone ahead. The corrupt politicians have gone ahead to water the ground before this news came out, because this news was actually, I think I read it, it was official. I think it was an official of the NNPC that released this news. So before he released this news, obviously, it was, they have gone to water the ground. So, and that is just it. Unfortunately, that is the system we found ourselves um, in, and everywhere where every paraphernalia of the society seems to be corrupted. We have the government that is just taking us for granted, and we have the media that is supposed to be our watchdog, the watchdog to the government and the governance. They seem to be complicit in this whole thing. So we have become helpless. But at the same time, even though they are trying to actually kill the story of the news is out there. People are reading. How did I get the news? I got the news. It's not. It's in the open. It's in the public domain. So I read it there. So many, probably millions of Nigerians must have read this. We have social critics and and activists. We have civil rights activists and critics, We have all these organizations, non-governmental organizations or whatever. Obviously, everybody must have read this. What are they doing? Why is everyone keeping quiet? This is supposed to be the highest scandal of the year. It's sort of because I don't get it. I don't know when we have normalized this kind of nepotism. It's not. This is not even nepotism anymore. This is an outright. Even though it's the report said in his nephew, we all know that these are just fronts for Tinubu himself. We all know that Tinubu cannot such a massive takeover, such a massive takeover of wealth. Tinubu couldn't just hand it over to, couldn't be just favoring someone else, or even if it is person is his blood. If not that he is directly involved, or because he's the president, obviously somebody will be the one standing in for him. So um, it is so unfortunate that this is supposed to be a bomb in the media. Everyone is supposed to be talking about it, not just the mainstream media. Every platform is supposed to be talking about it. All activists are supposed to be talking about it, whether you call them civil rights or human rights activists or social activists. So everyone is supposed to be talking about it. Now we are not. The whole thing is just this news is just seem to have been relegated to the background, while the media, the entire media, is just going after things, mundane things that are not germane to the nation. I don't get it. Now, the few of us who have had this, who have read, not just few, millions of us who have read this, what are we doing with this news? Why, just like you noted, Barrister, why are we not on the streets? What else do we need? I don't understand. What is the military waiting for God's sake? What other proof do we need for the military to actually intervene in this country? Because there was never a time, there is never a time that we need, that never, no, this is the worst level we have found ourselves as a nation. No, there's never a better time for the military. No, never a better time as this for the military to take over. This is the best. It is a fertile ground for the military, very, very extremely fertile. At this point, if the military takes over, they will be so popular. People will be so excited. It will be jubilation on the street because we can't. It can't get. I don't know whether I would say whether it cannot get worse than this. If we're expecting it to get worse than this, then I pity for Nigerians. Honestly, if things get we at this kind of precarious situation, if we find ourselves in a worse than this situation, then we are gone. We are doomed. Honestly, this is the most fertile period for the military to intervene.
I
I don't
I
get it.
I want to add that nobody has told us why we need to sell the assets of NNPC Retail Limited, which itself is a national asset. The NNPC Retail Limited is 100% owned by NNPC, so it's a national asset. Is it that they are not making any profit? It was formed a few years back. It's not an old company. It was formed a
Yeah.
few years back. So why the sudden need to sell it? Why the sudden need to give their portfolio out? Is it that they have not been making profit selling petrol throughout the country, or what? Nobody has come up to say, look, we have been operating under profit for all these years. We cannot continue. Let us sell this. There's no transparency. You woke up one day and say national asset has been sold, and nobody is asking questions. Why do we need to sell these national assets to another company, to a private company?
this is a reason why we can't the military will be the best bet for us, because it's only the military that can actually retrieve all these assets. No matter who bought it, the military can take it back. That you see, this is you see that you see that is honestly, this is one of the reasons why one of the several reasons why I do not subscribe to democracy. Because now, what let's even as let's even assume that in 2027 somebody another government comes up, and a democratically elected government comes up. What do you think he or she can do? Nothing. The worst case scenario, because most of these things are done in a very there are all legal documents backing up all these takeovers, handovers and takeovers, transfers and other stuff, whatever. There are legal documents. So they are prepared. Obviously, whoever is doing this or whatever, the Tinubu camp, they are prepared for future legal tussle. Where any government, whenever any government comes up and says, okay, all these things, you have to return them back, obviously they will go to court. So that is democracy. They will go to court, and eventually court will actually cite them because they have legal all documents to back them up. But in a military era, who will listen to the court? I remember during what's his name, Buhari's the first time as a military head of state. He did just went on rampage, picking up all these corrupt politicians. And that is just it, because that is what we need. Look, there are two options for us in this country: either a purposeful military takeover, or a revolution. When I say revolution, real revolution. Because I think at this juncture there is nothing gentle that can actually wrest power from the elites. Nothing. It has to be a revolution. A revolutionary action has to be taken for power to be wrested from the elites. So these are the two options we have: a revolution or a military takeover. Because that is the only thing, because we need to retrieve our assets, all those assets that were sold, that have been sold to private individuals, all those government assets, including from that during that Atiku's time as vice president, when he was in charge of BPE, in charge of privatizing our assets, our national assets. All those assets need to be retrieved. These people, the worst part is that they are selling these assets at peanuts, on at very low rates. So that is the point. Because the truth is, what Tinubu is doing now is, even if he doesn't come back, he's fleecing. What do you expect? This is just barely 1 year, about 15 months into his reign. He has fleeced Nigeria to the tune of trillions, tens of trillions of naira. So what do you expect? By the end of 4 years, he must have bankrupted Nigeria to a stupor. At that juncture, he wouldn't mind just leaving. He would. In fact, with what I'm seeing right now, I foresee Tinubu not even recontesting in 2027. If at the end of 2027 he has now looked around and proved that, or reviewed everything and find out that he has done well for himself, honestly, he may not want to recontest, because at that time he must have amassed that, because this is his purpose. This is his two purposes why he actually ran for presidency: to amass wealth, and secondly, power. Of course, that power takes care of the both. It's so sad, so unfortunate. Honestly, it is so sad. So sad that we have found ourselves with we are a nation blessed with all human, natural, capital resources, all manner of resources. That is huge. That are huge enough to actually um, put us at par with the global economy, the world global economy. But today, where we are, but unfortunately, we can't even boast of the highest in Africa. We are still on. We are in the fourth position, eh? In Africa. For God's sake, a country that is highly blessed than I don't think there is. I doubt if there is any single country apart from the US that is so blessed with everything, all in one blessing from God, all in one. We have the human, we have the natural, we have the all manner of resources. We are all prevalent. I think there was a report. There was a time I wrote an article sometimes some years ago because I did a research. I found out that we have about I think 60 something solid minerals. If I'm right, I think I've forgotten that article. I wrote it many years ago. Um, Out of that 60 something solid minerals, we have about 52 or 53. I think 52 or 53 of those solid minerals that are found on commercial quantity in Nigeria. That is, we're talking about solid minerals, not even the liquid, the crude oil, whatever. That is apart from the crude oil. So we have all the resources, all manner of resources. Yet, look at where we are, just because of the less than 1% few that have been taking us for granted for decades now. Honestly, I'm just outraged. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know why Nigerians are taking this for this long, especially with Bola Tinubu. But the worst part is that Bola Tinubu's own is so glaring. He's out in the public now. He's just doing it. He's just he's flagrant about it. He's arrogant about it. He's just putting it out there. He doesn't even care because he knows that we are docile. We are just zombies. That's just the unfortunate thing. So sad. Okay. Let's move to the next topic now. Except Barrister, you have something else on this topic. Otherwise, we're moving to the next topic.
No, the only thing I can say is that the last should not be heard about this thing. Um, it should come up again and again. Let the public become aware of what is happening, even if other people do not want to take it up. It's worth taking up again and again until the whole country knows what is really happening and begins to ask the hard questions that ought to be asked and
Do
demand
you
for
think
answers.
do you think the whole country does not know what is happening, Barrister?
A lot
Look
of
at
people do not know. As we are doing this program, this is when you see people, a lot of people will come to know. This happened in the court. There was a court process. They sought for 8 court orders for this OVA to take over the assets of NNPC. The court just granted the order, I think this week, granted all those orders, amounting to a merger of the NNPC Retail Limited with Owando. So the issue just came. A lot of people are just hearing it now, and many of them do not even understand the extent of the issue involved, that it is an accusation of the entire portfolio of NNPC Retail Limited, including the petrol stations and including the importation of fuel into the country.
so sad, honestly. So sad, so unfortunate. Anyway, let's move to the next topic.